All right, we're back.
Yeah, so to like to Shane's point, we're like, I'd say there's probably like six of us in the league that just feel so dominated by like the Nick Sauce, not Nick O'Brien because he's trash too. But the Nick Sauces and the Shanes where you feel like I need to rebuild. And that's kind of where I went this year. But unless you're tearing it down, which I'm starting to realize now, to fucking bare bones, and you take those risks on those young guys like Shane did with the McDavids and stuff, those picks don't fucking mean nothing. Like I've rebuilt like what every fucking second year at this point it feels like to never accomplish nothing. Poor Casey, poor bastard. He's been rebuilding since he joined the fucking league. You know, he gets a
He's on the
ninth place.
cusp, though.
He sells everything. He's like, I can make playoffs. But like, no, in all honesty, it's just you feel like you're kind of chasing the Knicks and Shanes. But like having like, I have a boatload of sevens next year. I don't think I'm a fucking favorite next year to win shit. I'll probably make playoffs, but like those picks aren't. They build you a team, but it's not life changing. So if you have a good keeper base, the picks don't fucking matter. If you have all these picks and I can't improve one keeper, then again, whether if you have a bunch of tens like Corey or a bunch of sevens like me, it probably doesn't matter that much. So you might as well make the push this year and just hope Shane has an off week where his keepers can't carry him. But those picks aren't going to change your life. Trust me, every other year they don't. This year I'm stuck in it because I wanted to go so young. I want to grab those elite young guys that you typically can't find. So you kind of have to just sell everything to get them and just go from there. But yeah, like if you can fight for it, you fight for it because like the picks don't matter. You look at everyone who's ever rebuilt, it never matters. It does not matter if you have good keepers.
The assets are nice, right? Don't get me wrong. But if you have a chance at winning or making the playoffs, in my opinion, you should be taking that chance because next year's not guaranteed nothing.
Well, that's it. Like, look at poor fucking Neil. He picked up Hyman, who was a 50 goal scorer for his six. Fucking does nothing. He has Kaprasov, who he traded Shesterkin for. He's been hurt forever. He has Lozon, the best grinder, hurt forever. So you got to kind of take those shots when you have them because, like, the picks don't matter. They just don't. You and Nick haven't had picks since Christ was a cowboy, and it still always works out.
That's it. I'm a big fan of cycling my picks to improve my team to make a run. Um, that's my strategy. But not everyone can be in the Ramrod Empire. So
Mark's the only hero we've ever seen.
nah, I wouldn't call him a hero, but TBT getting in on a little trade here. Halverson at a 13th in exchange for Cousins and a 17th with Corey. Cousins is someone you've been trying to move for a while. You finally pulled the trigger.
But I sent Corey something that I thought was better for him, and then he counters me like, I sent you a favor. And then I fucking snapped it off because, like, no, I think Cousins is actually sneaky decent, but the center only really does suck for fantasy hockey. And then, like, 6 hours later, like, after he saw all the big dick trades happen, he's like, oh, I feel bad. I'm like, deal's done, bud. I'm sorry. You sent it to me. I'm pretty sure I sent him like Doriev or something like that, and everyone's sleeping on him too. He's got like 25 goals. And he sent me this. I'm like, I'll take 4 rounds for Cousins. He's not getting picked up by anyone else.
No one's interested in Cousins. But you're right, though. There were some big dick moves going on over those couple days. This one is not one of them.
No, not
Kirby
even close.
Doc and a 13th. Going to Corey for George Evan, 18th. What happened this one?
He's fucking Mr. Tinker, man. He's a fucking like he just can't stop trading. I love Corey, and I thought at one point he was really solid, but he can't stop tinkering. He just can't keep his hands off his wiener. You know, the thing's fucking raw at this point. It's like fuck. It's like Georgiev to me isn't rosterable. That was my whole Blackwood trade with fucking O'Brien, and that's why our Blackwood trade didn't get down because he valued Georgiev. The guy has like a fucking 880. He's not rosterable. And he just thinks he can get goalie starts and stuff out of him. Like, if you want those starts, I guess, but terrible.
Yeah, I mean, like you're trying to. He's been trying to shop around Georgiev for like a 6 for a while. Georgiev is not a 6.
No.
He only had the most wins because he's playing for Colorado, but his stats are trash. And
He would have
it's
got
only
Blackwood. So when Blackwood got moved to Colorado, I love O'Brien. I always call O'Brien first, but he's the most difficult conversation I have always. And I'm like Georgie in a seventh, I think is what I wanted. Might have been Georgie in a sixth. I don't know what the conversation is because he's gonna get defensive because he's sensitive. He's beautiful, but he's sensitive. And he's like Georgie is he's just holding Georgie's value too high. And I'm like, whatever. Like I'm not gonna negotiate with terrorists. And then I talked to Casey, and that's when I got the Robertson, like the 2 7s or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, maybe Blackwood was valuable. Blackwood had a 909 on San Jose. Yes, he's been kind of like mediocre on Colorado lately. The whole team's been kind of bad. So,
Well, we're going to see someone else who thought that Blackwood was valuable.
yeah, we are. Big dick trade.
We'll get there.
But O'Brien's valuation on Georgiev was just outrageous all year long. And again, this is kind of, if he makes a Blackwood trade for like that seventh or sixth for Blackwood and nothing, just that's all it was. Would have been a seventh or a sixth with Georgiev for Blackwood. I think he's still probably in third place.
I feel that's part of the issue too, is that some of these GMs are too afraid to pull the trigger. They're afraid of making a bad deal.
No, it's going to be on their terms. A lot of GMs won't do what's best, like the Wilson trade. I think that's a fucking incredible payment. Nick works some things out later. You're going to find out where Wilson works out to be a keeper. But if you look at it on paper, that's quite the payment. But again, Sauce knows what it's like to get in the finals. He knows what it's like to get there. And at the end of the day, if you want to get there, you got to pay to get there. And some GMs just refuse to make trades without it being their terms. But again, that's not how it works. Sometimes you got to kind of overpay to get what you need versus what you want.
You can't take the win in every trade. And there's different ways to win a trade. If he gives you what you need, who fucking cares what you paid?
Exactly. It all comes down to wins, right? But I think that's again, I don't know if it's a pride thing, or whatever. No, nothing's personal here. I'm a terrible GM. I've never won shit. But
Terrible.
I think you're starting to realize though is that the guys that are willing to again Shane paying a 6th and 7th and 8th for Bob before the season started, shit like that. If you know what you need and you pay it, it's better off for you than kind of like doing things when you feel like you want to do them, if that makes sense at all. But
yeah. Pinto. You're picking up Pinto on an 11th from Domo for Lehkonen and a 13th.
yeah, he's having a decent season. They're kind of shuffling like everyone on that line with McKinnon at this point. So again, I had 3 late picks, which disgusts me. Anything later in the 7th is fucking gross at this point. But like, yeah, I just snapped it off. I'm like, no one else is offering anything for him. I think Lekkonen's probably worth it. He's probably going to get you 50 points. And
At this point, it's like with your mid-tier guys, it's like take what you get.
that's it. And like we've talked about Domo not having those high-end assets to get your Tom Wilsons, your Uyghurs, your points and stuff. So it is an upgrade for him because Pinto was still out, and it only cost him 2 rounds and an 11. So it's a nothing trade in me. But
What you
like,
got in the Bennett deal?
what's that?
What you got in the Bennett deal, the 11s?
Oh my god, it gets even worse.
Patches realizes that no one wants to buy from him or doesn't have the assets to pay his price, decides to shop and picks up Kemper and a 16th in exchange for an 8th with Neil. Wow, what do you think of this one?
LA's been on fire. Like, I think O'Brien's season's probably pooched. He can probably flip this back, and I probably would if I was him. But I think he got good value on it. Kemper's a starter. LA doesn't allow a lot of goals. They don't really score a lot of goals, but I think it's a good deal for a goalie in this league.
Yeah, and again, at this point, there's not a lot of high-end picks out there. Are you gonna get more than an 8th?
You're probably going to call a guy Tinkerbell there, Corey, and you can probably get like 3 10s or something from Corey for him, probably, or something like that, and just kind of like make your later picks more kind of even keeled. I don't know if O'Brien has those, but he can get something probably.
I think Kemper is very flippable. I've seen him move for Hellebuck.
Great deal, bargain.
This is probably one of the bigger trades that we've seen all year. Braden Point and Saros going to Casey in exchange for Hagel and Blackwood going to Sauce without any draft picks too. What do you think of this one?
I was talking to both of them. I was talking to Casey about how like he was going to keep Hagel and Blackwood the one goalie. That's why we did the Askarov trade. And I was talking to Nick about how Zaros hasn't been solid. He knows like Zaros long term, like because I don't think Nashville's a 2 year bad team, but they're a bad team right now.
They had too
And he
many new
knew he
players come into the system. They just didn't know how to play together.
exactly. But again, Nick's in a win now. Nick has Bass. Nick has 4 skaters he can keep and Blackwood. But Nick's prepared to move a guy that's going to cost him now, right? Whether it's long term pain. Championships don't come every day unless you're Shane. Um, and Casey kind of like when I was talking to Casey, I'm like, I think Braden Point's better than Hagel, and I think Zaros is better than Blackwood. Sorry, I like Blackwood more than Zaros, but I like Point more than Hagel. Like I love Point and I love Blackwood. I think I regret trading Blackwood now, in all honesty.
I,
Um, and
I
then
feel like you're right when that like Nick got the goalie upgrade at the cost of the forward upgrade, the forward downgrade.
exactly, but Hagel's been crazy too and plays left wing, right wing.
He's been
So I
good.
was, yeah,
I agree. I agree with that though, and I think that's what Nick was thinking as well when I was talking to him while we were watching the finals there. Um, that he wanted to improve his goaltending, and to do that, you have to give up. You have to give up to improve your goaltending. And
because Colorado's struggling right now. Like I think since the trade happened, Zaros has actually been better in those 2 or 3 games. But Blackwood, with the way Nashville's playing, Nashville is like a 50-50 team. Blackwood's going to get you wins.
yeah,
And it's something right now when, like, realistically, their save percentage in a goals against can kind of be evened out, but Blackwood should get him more wins. Um,
I like
and
the deal for
Hagel does
both
dirty
teams
shit.
though. I like the deal for both teams.
Yeah, it's a good trade. Like I said, I like Point the best, and I like Blackwood as the better goalie. So I think it worked out for both. I wouldn't have done the trade if I was either one personally, because I like the one of each party so much. But yeah, I think it's what they both need.
He would have done the trade, except that he traded Blackwood a few weeks back.
I regret the Blackwood trade. I tell you right now, even though I ended up with like 4 7s and whatever, and Jason Robinson, I still regret that trade.
It's good. At least you can admit when you feel you made a bad trade. I don't
Well,
think it was a bad trade, but you would have rather have that goalie.
you need to have. I think where the league is going, you just need one. You need one elite. If you have one top 5 goalie, which I think Blackwood can be because where he plays, you can get away with like, look, I beat Corey last week with waiver wire shit net. So like, if I can just waste an ad drop on a Comrie or whoever to kind of clean up the mess, and I can keep 4 stud forwards, I think that's where the league should be going personally. So yeah, I would have not. I have Askarov now, so I'm happy. But at the time, the last 3 weeks or so, I'm like, fuck, I wish I was dead. This is awful.
I don't think you're wrong though. I feel like that's where a lot of teams are going. That's what I did last year. I kept 4 forwards and Hellebuck, right? If you
Yeah,
have that one goalie who can carry you and you could patchwork the rest of your goaltending, I feel having that extra forward, that's my mindset right now, at least. Doesn't mean it'll always be that way. I've historically kept 2 goalies, but that's what I'm kind of feeling these days. So it might be just how the league's evolving, but
like shutouts are so rare. I know we're off topic. It's really 4 stats you're fighting for.
yeah.
Like I don't know the math on it, but I feel like shorthanded points are more frequent than shutouts.
They
So
are.
I would say it's like 9.5 to 4. Let's call it that, right? So like Daltrey, and I love Daltrey. 4 goalies. I think if you have one bad fucking night from one goalie and to waste 4 roster spots on that, like if you allow 3 on like 7 shots, that's hard to come back with. Yes, you might take saves and stuff, but you're wasting 4 roster spots and you're already down one of a possible 4 stats. Yes, there's 5. There's 4. Let's be honest. So I feel like
I'll touch base on that shorthanded point remark that you made. For example, I lead the league in shorthanded point wins this season, and in 17 weeks, I have 11 wins with shorthanded points.
wow.
And they aren't. It's not the same as shutouts, where shutouts are rare. Uh, Casey has the most, but Casey had that crazy week where he had 5
Five,
in one week.
5 in a week.
right? And so he's beating me in shorthanded points by one across the league. He's at 19. I think I have 18,
Wow.
but it's or maybe it's more than that. But anyway, I got 11 shorthanded point wins this season. It's been one of my crazy sneaky good statistics.
See that, guys, you can build around shorthanded points, you almost make the playoffs.
That's the Hagel trade coming through again. But that's what I
Yeah.
mean too, right? It's like I
That's
think that's
funny
what
because
we
Hagel got a shorthanded point last night.
he did. Yeah, it was almost a game winner too. I think they scored 5 minutes left, but
He still got
yeah,
the
like,
game winner from Cooch.
but that's my perspective on it. You need one elite goalie, and then you can kind of have like one decent one, and you use one of your three ads for that. Because again, it's only four stats versus like 9.5 to 10. But off topic, Travis rant of the day. Blame the booze.
Uh, Derek picking up Anderson in a ninth in exchange for McNabb and a 15th from Dre. Dre's still making moves. What about this one?
I think Dre was drunk on trades. I think he overpaid for him. McNabb's good, like he does that grinding stuff. Mainly blocks, right? I'm just looking him up here. Um,
Blocks and hits, mostly blocks.
yeah, 125 blocks is a lot of blocks. Big payment, but again, Nick's all in, so fucking ninth. Yeah, I think he's more of an 11th kind of guy, but Nick's needed grit, right? That was the Wilson trade. Nick loses grit like 80% of the time.
But that's the
Um,
thing. Again, Nick overpaid to ensure that he had the highest bid to get the guy he wanted, right?
yeah, so for fit, Nick wins. For value, he loses, right? So did he win? Yeah. I think he's more of an 11, 12 guy for value. But
Yep.
again, for what Nick's needs are, he's perfect. It's
But
who
if you have
cares about
multiple
nine?
people in on there, you're like, I'm going to overprice just to ensure I get the guy.
That's it.
Then he's moving out some grit this time to get more grit, I guess. I guess it's a grit exchange.
Yeah.
Colasar at a 12th for Popisil at a 15th. Derek just feeding Nick his team.
I don't really understand the trade. I guess he gets 30 more hits, but like 22 points for Kolzar. Pablo doesn't have 29 points, I don't think.
Get some hymns, though.
Yeah. Yeah, again, they're nothing picks. It's just whatever you feel like the fit for your team is.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, and I think he gets the winger. He gets an extra position too, right? Yeah, he gets a center on top of the right wing. So yeah, it's a nothing trade to me for like the difference between them, but you get the center depth, and it does look like there's is more hits and pims there.
George on the move again. George in a 10th. Going to Neil in exchange for Lankinen and a 15th. Lankinen finally moved, going to Corey after weeks and weeks of seeing his stats litter our chat.
Yeah, this is what I valued at Lincoln at like 5 weeks ago, Neil. Um, but he thought Demko could fall, but then no one was going to pay more than that tenth that I offered forever ago, and that's what he settled for. I think it's a good trade. Um, Vancouver sucks, but
Yeah,
you're getting a guy that's going to get like 60+% of the starts, and Georgie sucks for a tenth that we both know Corey has like what 10 of them of.
yeah,
It's a good trade for Corey.
agreed. And Neil did a good job getting the value that he could get out of that. Again, with the deadline coming up fast, right? That was on the 10th. And then since then, we've only had one trade, which was yesterday. Team Ramrod picking up Matt Duchene and a 12th in exchange for a 10th.
I'm glad Bedard got those two. I'm glad Bedard got those 2 rounds back. I'm happy for him.
That's funny because initially I offered him a 14 for a 16 because I thought that would be hilarious. Um, but he did not accept that because he knows that Duchene's value is higher. We went back and forth, possibly like a 12 for like a 17th, but he wanted my 10th, and I said I can't do my 10th for a 17th. And his next best pick at the time was like I think it was, or 16th either, and then it had to be the 12th. I told him that, and that was like 2 weeks ago. I made that offer, and since then, no one jumped on Duchesne, who's having a fucking great year.
Yeah,
He's on pace for like 80 points. Um, Actually got me 2 points yesterday, two power play points, which was great. And then with the deadline coming up, I'm like, are you gonna get a better offer? He's like, no, let's do it. All right.
And if you guys didn't know, Matt Duchene isn't from Cornwall, but his family lives in Long Sault.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's good. I'll bring the trophy by. Show
there
him
you
we're going to win.
go.
Also, that he is a member of last year's championship team, so we brought back a winner to try and keep this trophy where it belongs.
The funny part about this is O'Brien had him during his peak,
He
and
dropped him.
Duchesne had a couple real bad weeks. And as soon as O'Brien dropped him, he picked right back up again.
He knows he didn't want to be there.
No, who wants to be there?
It's
Not
like when he
Slap.
asked out of Colorado. Um, let's get into this week. That was some good trade talk, some good perspective. But let's talk about some matchups this week. Very important week. I know this has been long. It's been 3 weeks. We've been waiting to actually get into the action. 2 weeks for this third week of this matchup. Let's get into it. Ramrod Empire in third place, taking on Forgot About Dre in fifth place. Two big teams. Kyle, who do you have here?
I got forgot about Dre. This is a playoff preview, and Dre's going to beat you this week, and he's going to beat you in the playoffs.
Oh,
Let's
You
see
heard it
about
here
that.
first.
This is what provoked our bet the other night. He's convinced that him and Dre will meet in the finals, assuming he makes the playoffs. So, of course, I took that personally because
Of course.
everyone always goes against Le Champion in the playoffs. And
And
I'll remind everyone I have a 9-1, sorry, an 11-1 record in the last four playoffs.
sweet Mark.
Sweet Mark. Who do you got, Travis?
I think it's tight. I do like Sauce's team a little bit more, but like they're both very good teams. Like I think this is like tier one, tier like an A-B thing. Like they're both very good teams, but I do think Nick's team's slightly better. But yeah, like again, salary, the whole thing could flip. But yeah, I'm gonna take Dre. But you're both the best of the best for sure. It's not even close.
Last time we met, he beat me by a plus minus on an empty net goal in the last seconds of the last game of the night.
Oh,
I love that.
This time, he's already sabotaging Team Ramrod. The other night we were watching hockey. So it'd be a shame if one of your players got injured. Kachuk gets injured. And it was rumored that it was possibly season ending, but good news came today that he will be back in March. So right in time for playoffs to get his revenge against.
I have to say, though, you kind of deserve it with all those American players in your keeper base.
Can I say?
But he has Captain Canada, McJesus, bud. Captain Canada.
Yeah, but
Keeps him in line on my roster.
He does have a lot of fucking Americans, eh?
But I did have four players playing in that Four Nations finals. I don't think anyone else can boast that. So, but I of course am going for Team Ramrod, the Ramrod Empire this week, as I believe I could beat everyone in this fucking league. So
yeah, you're both you're both like a coin flip, right? Like you're both very, very good teams.
yeah, we'll see what happens this week. Kachuk's on my IR. That's all right. That means I get a free roster spot.
Fucking Mr. Las Vegas over here.
For the record, I had 3 players in that final.
It's not 4 though.
It's
Yeah,
not
3
4,
players.
3.
How many keepers?
1.
Yeah.
Burge has keeper.
I didn't even look at the rest of my line. I had 4 keepers on on that. I didn't really think of looking at the rest of my lineup, to be fair. But I don't think I do have anyone else. No, I don't think so. Just the 4 that matter. No. You wish you were this tight. Mark in 13th, taking on the 12th place Neil. Who do you got, Kyle?
I got Mark. Neil sold. Mark, not so much. Mark's had a good team all year. We look at his record, he's 13th. But when you combine his wins and ties, he has more wins and ties than losses. That is something.
He doesn't have more ties than losses, though. No.
Like when you combine the wins and ties, it's more than his losses.
Yeah. But he's still below Neil in points.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm picking Mark.
That's fair. Travis, who you got?
Winnipeg just tied that game for you, you fucker. Um,
They didn't do it for me. Like,
well, Hellbuck's in that. It's 26 seconds left.
yeah,
Um,
I appreciate them, but they didn't do it
uh,
for me.
I before if I would have picked before stats, I'd probably pick Neil's team. If you look at Neil's team again, if you go by name brand, it's actually a pretty decent team. But yeah, I think Mark will win with what we see now because he's had crazy offensive stats. But I would have took Mark 3 days ago, or whatever the week started.
You're taking Mark?
No, I would have took Neil. Sorry, Mark's going to win with just how good his offensive stats are. I think at this point, but
We're
I
2 days
would have
into the
took
week.
Neil.
Like,
I would have took Neil. If you look at the names of the team, I would have took Neil's team.
I also would have chose Neil. I still like Neil's roster, even though he sold a lot of pieces. Um, so I still think on paper it's better than Mark's.
Yeah, it's actually a really decent team.
So who knows? There's a lot of week left. His boys might step it up and carry him to victory. Daltrey in fourth place, taking on Dan in sixth place. Uh, Kyle, who we got?
I'm going with Daltrey. Not for any particular reason for his team, but because I really want him to beat Dan. So I'm gonna hope for the best here, and I hope he beats Dan.
Travis, who you got?
I Daltrey. I think Daltrey's got a super solid team. There's some things he could upgrade on there, obviously, but he's got good grit. He's got too many fucking goalies, but he's got a good goalie base. Yeah, I think he's just got a better all around team than Dan has. Dan's got the better goalie in Shesterkin, but all around, I think it's Daltrey.
I also went with Daltrey. I feel his team is it's just a notch above Dan's. Dan's team's been playing well lately. I mean, favorable schedule, but that's part of it. Sometimes you have a favorable schedule, and that's all it takes. You just got to make it in. Um, Dan looks like he's poised to make it in, but I think Daltrey takes this week.
Is he? I don't know.
We'll see. We'll
We'll
see.
see. We'll
I
see.
predicted he wouldn't at the start of the season, so I'm hoping he doesn't. But well, I mean, I didn't predict he wouldn't. I said that would be the team I would see dropping out of the
If Dan
playoffs.
loses this week, he's in hot water.
Oh, I like to hear that.
Yeah,
I don't like
because
being wrong.
he had, he's playing a top team in the last 2 weeks, and if he loses 2 of his last 3 weeks, he's in danger.
You hear that, Dan? You're in danger. Danger, Dan.
Danger Dan.
You better work hard to make some deals here by tomorrow.
He won't.
Is it tomorrow? It is. No,
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Wednesday. Uh, Derek in eighth place, taking on Patches in 10th. The battle of the two guys who have given up, thrown in the towel. Kyle, who do you have?
I'd really love Derek for win, but it's not going to happen. Patches should win this pretty handily. Derek sold a lot of pieces. He's in sell mode. I understand why Derek is in sell mode because when you look at his schedule is pretty fucking tough. And
He's got Nick and me
I
now.
don't, I don't blame Derek for selling. Looking at his schedule, I don't blame him. So I'm going to pick Patches, who has a pretty easy schedule. And yeah, with Derek selling, should be an easy week for Patches.
What do you think, Travis?
Yeah, I thought Patrick had a decent team all year long. I think he was just a couple trades away from piecing it together. And like I said, I think Derek had a good team too. Just trade for a fucking goalie. But yeah, no, at this point, Derek got good deals on his trades, but Derek's team is done. So I think Patches wins this one.
And let's just note here that Patches at one point was 8-3-2. He's lost the last 5 weeks, so he's 8-8-2 now.
Yes.
So he should get back in the win column this week.
He picked up Kemper too to kind of clear those holes up. I don't think he just got Kemper before Four Nations, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully it clears up some of those concerns he has. But yeah,
I also went with Patches. I just think his team's better, especially after Derek sold half his roster to Nick. It makes sense that Patches will win this one. So mentally Bedarded in 15th, taking on the Braden bye week in first. Who you got here, Kyle?
fuck, we always going to Kyle. Who the fuck's Travis?
Obviously, I got Braden here, but I'll tell you what, you know, Kyle, despite the fact that he's essentially tied for last place here, he's he's put up a lot of close weeks against good teams, and there's been a lot of 1 or 2 point weeks for Kyle. I kind of feel like his record is not indicative of what his team was this season. I feel he had a little bit of bad luck.
I was just telling him that the other day when I was talking trade with him. I do feel like that was the case. And no, I wasn't trying to butter him up. This was after the trade was already made. It was unfortunate that things didn't really go his way this year based on uh, just team performance. And by the way,
It,
Winnipeg just won.
it happens. It's part of the league. It's part of we have to play our games, and yeah, he's been on the losing side of a lot of 1 or 2 point games.
Well, he made this. He traded the six for Ingram, who's been solid for like at the point like over a season. Gets hurt for like weeks. He had Demko. He paid big dick price for Demko. What last year from me? Out the whole fucking season. It's like, what are you supposed to do? You gave up like numerous assets, like probably five assets for two goalies, and they don't even play a game for you, really. Like a
Yeah,
handful of games. Like, what are you supposed to do?
no, that's just bad luck.
And he did a good job because he could have moved off Demko, he could have moved off Bedard, being frustrated, and he did a great job because like I think my trade was good for Bedard, but again he knows like you know what it doesn't matter. The picks don't fucking matter. I have decent keepers going into next year. I'll make it work with mid-range picks in my keepers.
So who do you have this week, Travis?
I'm gonna take Bedard because I hate Braden.
You're taking Bedard.
I
Wow.
fucking Braden is fucking boyfriend, bud. Fucking homos. You know what I'm saying? Fucking homos.
I went with Braden because I think this should be an easy win for him. I wouldn't be upset if Braden loses. That's for sure.
I'm going by the stats right now because I'm being a little bitch because I don't participate in this. I don't think Bedard loses goals against or save percentage at this point. He's only behind a goal and an assist, and he has decent forwards. I'm riding fucking Bedard all day.
We have 7 minutes left, so we'll try and go through these last three
Yeah,
matchups.
I'll stop rambling. I'm sorry.
We can ramble, just keep it shortish, rambling. Casey in ninth, taking on Team Rocket in 11th. A must win for Team Rocket. How do you think Lyle's going to do? Who do you have, Kyle?
I'm going to tell you this is my match of the week, and it's a must win for me. It's also a must win for Casey. Whoever loses is out of the playoffs. Uh, and this is one of the remarkable things about this week. There's me versus Casey, and then there's Patches versus Everybody Loves Raymond. So you got 8, 9, 10, and 11 all facing off against each other. The winners have a chance to make the playoffs. The losers are out, and that's pretty much how it is. I got myself this week. I think I have a better team than Casey. I've had a good team all year. I've just had a little bit of bad luck. When you actually go and look at my stats, they're top tier stats in the league. For whatever reason, for about a 6 7 week stretch, it just didn't turn into wins for me. But I have a good team. It's a competitive team, and with a little bit of luck, I could be competitive in the playoffs.
Who do you got, Travis?
I think he's fucking delusional, and I can't wait for that lottery pick to cook in for me in the draft. I think Casey's my like dark horse to win it all. So
Wow.
I think Casey will win. I
That's
think
what
Casey's
Kyle
actually got a
thinks.
really good
Kyle
team.
thinks that he's a dark horse to make to the
I
final.
think Casey's actually got a sneaky good team. Um, yeah, I don't think Berge's team is as bad as it's played because he does have some decent players there, but I think Casey's got a really good all around team. But yeah, Casey's my dark horse for it all. For it all.
I think both these teams are equal mostly. Both can have really good weeks, and both have had really bad weeks. But I went with Casey this week. I like the deal he made for Point. Um, it didn't hurt his goaltending really, maybe slightly, but he added like a really top offensive player. This guy is loading up for a playoff run, and Kyle's just standing pat, and that's nothing wrong with just standing pat. But I'm going to give the edge to the guy who's taking the initiative right now. And I feel both your rosters are kind of the same, at least from where I am at the top of the standings. Um,
I'd say Casey has the two best goalies in the matchup as well.
Yeah, but I have the better forwards.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
do.
don't
I
know.
do. Go
I
look
like
it up.
I like Reinhardt, but like man, you're talking about Jack.
Reinhardt,
Ooh,
Nylander,
Point.
Tuch has an insane season. Dahlin. Uh,
Uh, I think you're both. I think again. I just think Casey's my dark horse.
All
You
right,
lost to me.
we got 4 minutes. So
All right, one left. Let's go.
Corey in second. We got 2 left. Taking on Sean in 16th. Who do you got here, Kyle?
Jesus. I got Corey here, but it'd be kind of funny if Sean won.
Travis, who you got?
Corey. Sean's trash. Always going to be trash. He's nobody.
I went with Corey as well because I just love seeing Sean at the bottom of the league. It warms my heart. Last matchup, TVT in 14th taking on Domo in 7th. Kyle, who you got?
I got Domo, but I'm cheering for Travis all the way.
Travis, who you got?
I would have took me before the week started, but then I had the 3 worst goalie games so far this week. So Domo was going to win, but I would have took me.
I went with Domo just because I respect the standing difference. But I will not be upset if you handicap Domo's playoff hopes, his playoff aspirations. So I'm not necessarily against you winning. We got just over 2 minutes left. I'll give you guys each a chance to give some closing words here if you have anything to say, Kyle.
Yeah, this is going to be a tight playoff run. A lot of interesting possibilities coming up here. And this week will be really telling. Good luck to everybody, except for you, Casey. Fuck you.
See, he wants to imitate greatness. Um, Travis, what do you got to say?
Yeah, not much. It's just I only think that 8th spot overall is available because I think Domo beats me this week just because my goals attending's been so bad. And like I think it's gonna whoever wins this week between Team Rocket and Casey, I think probably will make it.
I think it's gonna be a really interesting week for the playoff race. But that's what we love about this time of year, right? It's just everything's so tight going to the final couple weeks, and then it's just jockeying for positions. So we'll see what happens. I look forward to it. It's gonna be a good week. Uh, Thanks for watching, everyone. Good luck, everyone, this week, except for you, Nick. Go fuck yourself.
Fuck you too, Sean.
Yeah, fuck you too, Sean. You're not safe.